Hello, and welcome to my presentation, CLIL Best Practices for Teaching Business English. My name is August Garnsey. I'm a TESOL graduate student at Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago, USA. Let's go and begin. Now, for a brief outline for the short presentation today, first, identify what is CLIL and the 4 C's. We're going to distinguish between hots and lots within the revised model of Bloom's taxonomy to recognize effective questions that develop cognitive skills. And then we're going to have a little overview of a couple of sample activities that can be applied to various subjects, as well as just briefly mention about active learning. So what is content and language integrated learning, commonly known as CLIL? Well, according to Dr. Peter Mehisto back in 2008, he said CLIL is an umbrella term covering a dozen or more educational approaches. An example, immersion, bilingual education, multilingual education, language showers, and enriched language programs. Now, according to Dr. David Marsh in 2012, he said that CLIL is a dual-focus educational approach in which an additional language is used for the learning and teaching of both content and language. Another popular definition by Kay Bentley in 2010, CLIL is an approach or method which integrates the teaching of content from the curriculum with the teaching of a non-native language. Now, those are 3 very popular definitions by 3 very well-known experts within the CLIL field. So next, let me explain to you the picture at the bottom. It's entitled Mythbusters. It's a well-known popular TV show here in the United States of America. And basically the 2 gentlemen you see there, the point of the show is that they're trying to determine whether or not something is a fact or if it's a myth. So I have a statement here for you. CLIL is about teaching a subject in English. Is that a fact or is that a myth? And the answer is, it's a myth. Now, according to Dr. David Marsh, CLIL is sometimes referred to as having 4 C's as components. Those components are content, communication, cognition, and culture. Now, CLIL is much more than just teaching a subject in English. It's about developing and stimulating a learner's cognitive skills, so that way they can use that for future courses and future subjects. It's about teaching culture and citizenship. Now, in this presentation, we'll focus on the C of cognition. We need to develop learners' cognitive skills so they can study subjects from the curriculum. Cognitive skills, or thinking skills, are the processes our brains use when we think and learn. Now, Dr. Peter Mehisto stated that good CLIL practice is driven by cognition. Now, on this slide here, we have the revised Bloom's taxonomy from Anderson and Krathwohl back in 2001. Here you can see a colorful pyramid with 6 different levels, basically, of learning within the cognitive domain. Off to the right, you can see a basically explanation of each level of learning within this cognitive domain, plus also in bold print, different types of tasks or things that a learner would do within that level. Now, cognitive skills can be broken up into lower order thinking skills, known as LOTs, and broken up into higher order thinking skills, known as HOTs. Now, learners need to progressively challenging tasks so they can develop their thinking skills. We can develop learners' cognitive skills through tasks and challenges that are appropriate to the subjects, but we can also develop their skills through effective questioning. Questions are great to help learners to make associations and to think more deeply about a subject or a topic. take a look here at a little framework here for questions that develop and stimulate cognitive skills. This is what I was talking about. So on the left side, we have those lower order thinking skills. Some examples would be what is, or how is, or where is. And then you can apply it to whatever subject you're teaching. On the higher order thinking skills, examples are how would you improve? What alternative can you propose? Why do you agree with the actions? What would you recommend? So those are all great examples that would stimulate and develop higher order thinking skills. Now let's actually take a look at some actual specific examples within business context. Now, when I'm also thinking about thinking skills, and that's what we're really focusing on here, is cognitive skills. To me, when I think about great thinkers, there's one past principal business leader who was a tremendous thinker, who had a great impact on our society and about the way that we live. And his name is Mr. Steve Jobs. The first question, when was the Apple Corporation established? Example of lots and the level of remembering. Give an example of an Apple product. Another example of lots with the level of understanding. Number 3, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the new iPhone 8? Now we're focusing on higher order thinking skills within this question, the level of analyzing. Number 4, how has the iPhone made your life easier? Again, HOTS, the level of evaluating. Number 5, explain what will be some future features of the next iPhone. Also higher order thinking skills, but this is at the highest level, if you remember, back within that colorful pyramid at the very top, the level of creating. Now let's go ahead and focus on 2 sample activities. And the first activity is Taboo. Now, many of us probably already are familiar or know the game. It looks like this. Here's the iconic box with that purple face, the cards that we probably are familiar with. Probably many of us have played and used this game. Now, here's the twist. This is why I'm mentioning this example right now within this presentation. Now, I like challenging my students, and I like active learning. I want to talk a little bit more about active learning in a moment. Active learning is extremely important within CLIL. So I ask my students to recall vocabulary or expressions from previous topics so they make taboo cards themselves. So students involved in the learning process themselves now and are actively engaged. Each student writes 2 different expressions to do with the subject, one on each slip of paper. These can be anything to do with the subject. They do not show or tell the other group members what they have written. They fold those slips of paper to hide the writing. They put them into a group container. It doesn't matter if those terms are duplicated. For example, in a marketing context, we can have market research, marketing mix, marketing trend. Okay, you can modify it to whatever subject or topic you have. That's why Taboo is fantastic within CLIL, and you can apply it no matter what subject you teach. Now, the next activity is a role play interview. Now, I know you're probably thinking, man, this sounds so much just like business. How can I apply it to my subject? I'll tell you in a moment. Basically, in this activity, learners are interviewed for a job in the role of a subject teacher. We're going to be focusing on creative thinking and the level of cognitions, focusing on evaluating skills, and they're going to focus a lot on speaking because of the interview element. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to introduce your learners to the role or function of the character that you have chosen. You're going to brainstorm together probably what are the most important qualities needed to carry out this person's job. Then you're going to explain to them that there's a vacancy for this job and that everyone in the class will apply. Brainstorm the procedures involved in a job application, such as, like I have on my screen here, a resume or CV, probably there's going to be an application letter, and of course then tell them about that interview. You can provide the learners with an incomplete sample of that resume or CV in the letter of application. And they're going to go ahead and you can complete this within the class setting, or you can modify it and have them do it individually or in pairs. That's up to you. You're going to go and discuss which questions an interview panel might ask the applicant, and you can write those on the board and discuss them. Then you're going to divide the class into groups of 4, and you're going to ask them to prepare their answers for the interview. You're going to want to appoint a panel of maybe 3 or 4 people that basically will act as that interview panel. This would be a great time to ask your colleagues or administrators at your school or organization to sit on this panel to make it a little bit more authentic. And basically, they're going to conduct the interviews with each learner, and then as they listen, in the class, and the teacher is going to decide who is the best candidate and give basically constructive feedback as to why. Now, the way you can twist this, say for instance, if it's history, think about this: any historical character or role. This could have been maybe a position for like a king, a position for an explorer, a crusader, a knight, a military general, a Renaissance artist. Maybe, for instance, even if this was for ICT, maybe then this job can be for the designer of a new school website. So see, you can apply many different subjects or topics to this activity. It's a great activity. So now I kind of wanted to go back to active learning, and basically I wanted to just show on screen here, basically we have a learning pyramid. Within this learning pyramid shows retention rates of information, and as you can see from the top with lecturing and reading, and as it progresses and goes down the pyramid, students retain more information. To the right you see a table, ears, eyes, voice, and touch, which represents auditory, spatial, linguistic, kinesthetic learning styles. And then you can see at the very bottom, practice doing or teaching others is the greatest way that they use all 4 learning styles. Teaching others is the greatest way for somebody to retain information. I'm going to sum it up with a quote. I see and forget. I hear and I remember. I do and I understand. Confucius. All right. Well, that was pretty much all the information I wanted to cover. Again, my name's August Garnsey. My email is augustg.chicago@gmail.com. I just want to mention the picture there on the screen right now. That is me with Dr. David Marsh himself, the man that basically coined or created the term CLIL back in 1996. And we were together at a NIS conference earlier this year at Nazarbayev University in the capital. I listed a few different work assignments, some other facts about me. Again, I'm a graduate student in TESOL at Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago. I just want to thank everybody for their time. Rakmet, spasiba. I really appreciate everybody, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you.